Right now, I want to welcome to the program once again the New York attorney Mark Betterow. Mark, good evening, sir.
Hi, how are you? Nice to speak with you again.
It's good talking to you. And again, I wish we were under better circumstances. Once again, we're talking about a story out of New York City where it appears the punishment that your client is facing, at least for a lot of people, doesn't fit the crime. Ryan Jerome, you are representing the former Marine who is from Indiana. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. Can you just tell us a little bit about Ryan's story? What happened to him?
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, he's a Marine. He has a concealed carry permit from the state of Indiana. He's also a licensed jeweler. He came to New York for the first time to conduct some business. He attempted to check properly online to see what the New York gun laws were. He saw a particular website which was pretty confusing and thought that he was going to have reciprocity. Obviously, as we know now, he did not. So he came to New York to conduct this transaction and wanted to see the Empire State Building as a tourist with his girlfriend, and went to the Empire State Building, asked somebody there where he could check his gun on his own. He wasn't at the security checkpoint or anything like that where it was found in his bag. He volunteered that he had a gun and wanted to know where to check it. And you know what happens next. He gets arrested. They ask for a lot of bail because they talk about mandatory state prison, and out of state, spends a couple days in jail and goes back to Indiana facing very serious charges.
Yeah, I mean, he's now facing, 3.5 to 15 years behind bars?
If he gets indicted, then we're back in that situation where the minimum would be 3.5. If they wanted to make him a plea bargain in the event that he gets indicted, it would be 2. Right now, he has not been indicted. We're certainly hopeful that he won't be indicted, and we're certainly hopeful that the district attorney will recognize what this really is and the kind of person that he is, see the mitigation, and hopefully handle this in a manner that would not result in any criminal conviction for him. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, because Mr. Jerome, as I understand it, he doesn't have a criminal history, a legal right to carry holder in Indiana. And, you know, again, I guess ignorance is no excuse for violating the law, but I mentioned earlier, Indiana has universal reciprocity with every other state in the country. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that Mr. Jerome read that, thought that, well, if Indiana has universal reciprocity, it means I can carry in New York and New Yorkers can carry in Indiana, even though it's not quite the case. I don't think anybody, except perhaps Mayor Bloomberg, would say that this is worthy of 3.5 years in prison.
No, it's another situation of potential criminalization of a mistake, and certainly I suppose that there is fair criticism to say that somebody was incorrect about their assumptions, whether they looked at the law or not, what they thought they could do in New York. But again, you look at the facts, you look at the character of the person, and you put the two together, and I think any reasonable person would reach the conclusion that a criminal record, possible incarceration, ruining a career, ruining a life, staining him with the stigma of criminal for the rest of his life, it's just not appropriate under these circumstances. And the public is catching on to these kinds of cases, and we certainly hope, again, that the Manhattan DA will recognize that these kinds of cases, are certainly the ones that have the fact pattern of Ryan Jerome's case, just do not support criminalizing what happened here.
Well, you know, I know that the New York Post has written about Meredith Graves, the 39-year-old who ran into a similar incident at the World Trade Center. Legal right to carry holder from Tennessee, thought she could carry. Now she's facing charges as well. And I saw that Laura Italiano had a piece in the New York Post this afternoon, I guess. Stephen Grant from Maryland. Prosecutors agreed to a no jail, no probation misdemeanor deal after he brought his gun basically into New York City, had it at his hotel room. Again, wasn't committing a crime, or wasn't committing a violent crime or anything like that, violating New York City law. But the DA's office, I guess, has allowed him to plead guilty to 4th-degree weapons possession, which is a misdemeanor. So he won't face any jail time. But again, he's still going to be labeled a criminal. I don't know what kind of impact this is going to have on his life in back home in Maryland, but it certainly seems like, and you even have now people like Peter Vallone on the city council, no friend to gun owners by and large, but even he is saying something needs to be done about New York City's gun laws because good people are being hurt by them.
Yeah, I mean, he had a very good piece in the Post today, at least recognizing, for someone from the perspective who is against H.R. 822, he certainly recognized that when you make examples out of decent people and subject them to such draconian laws, that all you're doing is feeding the beast in terms of passing the legislation. With respect to the guy from Maryland, there's no question that in the last year, some of these cases are getting handled as misdemeanors, and I suppose on a case-by-case basis, some may be appropriate, some may be not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not familiar with the Maryland case other than what I've read in the paper, and based on what I can read, it appears that that guy left it in a hotel room where it was found by a maid, which would certainly be a worse fact pattern than anything like Ryan Jerome or Meredith Graves. But, you know, again, based on the article, his lawyer, who's a very accomplished lawyer, seems very pleased with that deal. So, you know, that's one where I just shrug my shoulders and say if everyone's happy, then I suppose it's an appropriate deal. But it doesn't change our view of Ryan Jerome's case, which, again, the mitigation here is just overwhelming and does not belong with a criminal conviction. It just doesn't. I don't think any reasonable person believes that, and I think you see the public support based on comments from some of the online articles and just everyone that people are talking to, that these are not good cases for the New York stringent gun control. It's just not.
Do you think, Mark, that because of the recent attention, because of the fact that we're not just talking about your client, Mr. Jerome, but we're also talking about Meredith Graves, we've gotten now this other case from Maryland, there is so much media attention in the New York area that's being paid to this issue. Is there an opportunity to get something done to try to change the law?
If you had asked me that a couple of weeks ago, I would have said there's no chance of that. But, you know, Peter Vallone's a very powerful person in New York City politics, and certainly Sheldon Silver is in New York State politics. And people are talking about the issue in a way where you just never heard in the recent past since the law changed, 5 years ago or whatever it was. And when people like that are mentioning publicly that these laws don't make any sense when applied to people who are not criminals, then something needs to change. I mean, the law clearly needs to change. Whatever that is, who's to say? But whether it's something like 822, whether it's accepting out-of-state permits, which I would suggest to you will never happen in New York State unless the federal government makes it happen. I think we all understand that New York State isn't going to go that far.
Mm-hmm.
But perhaps there are some exceptions or exemptions they could carve out. I mean, maybe these should be treated as misdemeanors from the get-go and let the negotiation process and the possible sentences start from there if somebody has a valid out-of-state permit or other just extenuating circumstances. But when the price of admission starts at 3.5 years in prison, and that's the negotiation thing that's hanging over everyone's head, it's the deck is stacked, clearly.
Well, listen, Mark, I'm glad you could join us on the program tonight, sir. We're going to be following the case of your client, Ryan Jerome. Would love to have you back on anytime, and hopefully we don't hear about any more of these stories in the near future.
Well, it does feel like Groundhog Day, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Mark, thanks again, sir, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, Cam.
Mark Betterow, attorney at law in New York City, joining us here on Cam and Company.